It is the reigning champions against the record champions. Welcome to the action from Nissan Stadium. A heavyweight matchup between Yokohama F Marinos and Kashima Antlers to get match week 5 underway. The team that took the title last season against the one that has won it 8 times. Only 2 clubs have been ever present in J1 since this league kicked off the professional era in Japanese football in 1993. And that is these two. It is a meeting of historical significance, but also key to the start of the current campaign, as both look to establish themselves as title contenders again. Kicking off today level on points, after each winning twice, drawing once and losing once through the first 4 fixtures of a J1 season, which looks like it might be wide open this year, if the early weeks are anything to go by. Kashima Antlers making the trip southwest, basically from the other side of Tokyo, and doing so in great numbers, ahead of a match that always matters when these two go toe-to-toe. They were held to a goalless draw last time out at home by Avispa Fukuoka, where the Antlers, F Marinos, attempting to bounce back from their first setback of the season when beaten at Consadole Sapporo. They had opened the defence of their title with successive victories at Kawasaki Frontale, the team whose title they took. Last year's runners-up, they beat the Champions League finalists Urawa Reds as well. But it's just 1 point in the 2 matches that have followed for F Marinos. Playing just a second game here at Nissan Stadium this season. They played 2 of their home games at Mitsuwawa Stadium. They were 2-0 winners here, though, over the Reds at the end of February. Wonderful arena with a capacity of over 72,000, venue for the 2002 World Cup final, and more recently the Rugby World Cup final. It is perhaps the most familiar fixture in J1 history. One that Yokohama F Marinos did the double in last season en route to the title, but Kashima Antlers had won the previous 6 meetings between the clubs in all competitions, scoring 20 goals across those games. Only goal difference separates them ahead of kick-off today. Just 2 points short of the summit, so there is the chance for either to top the table, at least temporarily, after this early kick-off in the driving rain in Yokohama. The rain has actually relented a little bit in the last hour or so. It's been coming down very heavily for most of the morning. The stage almost set at Nissan Stadium. Much anticipated meeting, this one, between 2 of the historically most significant sides in this league's history. Expectations always on both of them to be up there amongst the front runners, yet to maybe find their top form so far this year. Understandable, I guess, at this stage of the season. Kevin Muscat makes 3 changes to his Yokohama F Marinos team from that beaten Consadole Sapporo last Sunday. 2 of those come at fullback, where Katsuya Nagato returns from suspension and Ken Matsubaru comes back in. Takumi Kamijima drops to the bench and Yuta Koike misses out. The other change is a recall on the right for Kota Mizunuma, who started the first 2 league games this season and is preferred today to Kenta Inoue. Ryotora Tsunoda and Takuma Nishimura celebrate call-ups to the Japanese national team ahead of the Kirin Cup at the end of the month. Kuya Kida, the captain of the home side, so important at the heart of the midfield. Shoma Doi, his opposite number, making a first start of the season today. It's a third J1 game of the year for referee Ryo Tanemoto, in what is now his fourth year officiating at this level. He was promoted to FIFA's international list in 2022. Koya takes charge of the VAR responsibilities for this one. Kashima Antlers have been forced into one change since their goalless draw against Avispa Fukuoka last time out. Kaishu Sano was sent off in that game and so is suspended today. Club captain Shoma Doi, a veteran of 300 J1 appearances and in a 13th season with the first team, comes in to make his first start of this year. That is the only change, with Gen Shoji keeping his place ahead of Ikume Sekigawa at centre-back, having replaced him in the side last weekend. Kai Shinen scored in the first two games of the season. He and Yuma Suzuki are expected to be the major threats in attack. The Tricolor attempting to bounce back from their first loss of the season at Consa last time out. They were unbeaten in 7 games, Kevin Muscat's men, in all competitions, dating back to mid-October, until that defeat 6 days ago. Daiki Iwamasa stepped in halfway through last season, a disappointing season really by Kashima Antlers standards, ending 4th in the table, having started strongly and suggested that they were title challengers. Almost good to go then. Two clubs both expected to be amongst the contenders once again this year, as they usually are, the reigning champions against the record champions, both within striking distance of top spot, despite perhaps not yet hitting the heights that they are hoping for this year. This is a meeting that will tell us much about their prospects, about the progress that they've made since the rebuilding that was required during the winter. Nissan Lopez will be the obvious target for F Marinos, joint top scorer for them in this league last season. A couple of goals to his name already in the current campaign, and he's the one on the receiving end of the challenge on halfway, the Brazilian. Tsunoda at centre-back, celebrating a first call-up by Japan, ahead of those Kirin Cup games at the end of the month against Uruguay and Colombia. 7 of the 26-man squad named this week by Hajime Moriyasu currently play for J1 clubs, 2 of them for F Marinos. Nishimura's in that squad as well, looking to add to the 3 caps that he won in the summer of last year in the East Asian Championship. Just shrugged off the ball, but it will break for Hatanaka. He will go all the way back to Ishimura in goal. 4th straight start for him now in all competitions, having joined on loan just after the start of the season from Gamba Osaka. Seems to have slotted straight into the starting lineup in place of Paul Obina-Obi, who began the first couple of games of the season and indeed their Super Cup success. They started the season F Marinos with silverware. Chine for Kashima. Almost came for Doi, it still might come for Doi. Instead it was Chinen who didn't really get behind it. Perfectly positioned, it appeared, in front of goal. It was a comfortable save for Ishimori in the end. Conditions that are likely to be anything but comfortable for the keepers in particular. Pitch cutting up a little bit, which is more than understandable given the amount of rain that there has been in the hours before kickoff. Early start, just gone 2 o'clock in the afternoon local time. First game of the J1 weekend. It's perhaps the standout fixture of the J1 weekend. It's going to go up here, and it won't be contested. Maybe it will. Yuma Suzuki, and a second season back at the club, having spent the previous 3 years in Belgium with St. Trident. He was a key member of the Kashima Antlers side that won the Asian Champions League for the first and only time in their history back in 2018. He was the MVP in that competition that year, which really earned him his move to Europe. Thanks for Anderson Lopez. And slips a good ball through here for Mizunuma. Straight at Hayakawa. And that's a very promising opening for both teams already in these early exchanges. Koita Mizunuma on his recall to the starting lineup today had a clear sight of goal. Fourth year of his second spell at the club. He started the first 2 league games of the season. He's come off the bench in the last 2. Back in the team today. I might feel that he should be on the score sheet for the first time this season. Got 7 goals last year in J1. Elder just unable to hold on to possession. Plenty forward for Kashima. They have worked this well. They've got a couple to try and pick out in the middle. It's eventually gathered up by Ishimura. Tsunomoto it was who had the effort forward from fullback. There was sport for choice really there. That's an open start to the game. Both teams creating chances, neither able to find the finish yet. Nagato served his suspension a 1-match ban at Consa last week, having been sent off against Sanfrecce Hiroshima in the previous league match, their last home game, which finished 1-1. That was their first dropped points of the season. They were actually behind by this stage of the game. Higashi scoring for Sanfrecce inside the first 4 minutes of the match. Anderson Lopez lets it run. Didn't quite come for Nishimura. This is Watanabe. Now Kida, as those two combine in the heart of midfield. That partnership so important. But Subara is dispossessed. Anderson Lopez, though, will give chase. And he's the first to react, really, to get on the end of that. Didn't quite come for Mizunuma. Marinos trying to impose their passing game, dominate possession high up the pitch as they like to do. Subara will take the throw. He started the first 3 league games of the season. Came off at half-time in his most recent appearance against Sanfrecce. Back in the starting lineup today. In place of Kamajima, the new signing. Here he is again with the cross, looking for Anderson Lopez. Watanabe cutting it out. Able to pick the pass. Nishimura. Nearly but not quite, just too many in the way. They were all back there really for Kashima Antlers, who are being forced back now in the last few minutes. Wasn't much, was there, in the opening exchanges, but already F Marinos beginning to assert their authority. No one's comfortable for Hayakawa in goal. Heavily involved though, Matsubara forward from fullback down that right-hand side. Tomoki Hayakawa gets really decent distance on the clearance. There is Fuji. And Suzuki in the middle. Tomoya Fuji. Chase on for Yuma Suzuki just to keep it in play. He does that. Looking for support in the middle. Goals he got last season on his return to the club, just the one so far in the current campaign. Came in a 3-1 win at Yokohama, F Marinos' city rivals. On that match day 3 of the season, which will break next weekend because of the internationals, although both clubs will be in action. Actually, they play a J.League Cup fixture. Will be without a couple of their starters after those international call-ups for the Kirin Cup. They fielded actually not far from a full-strength side for the first group game against Jubilo Owata on the 8th of March, won it by a 1-0. There's Kida, back to Elbert. He started the season in fine fashion. Swings in the cross towards Mizunuma. Got a goal in the Super Cup, did Albert. He got a goal in the opening victory at Frontale on match day 1. Having scored 3 times in the last 2 games of last season to clinch the title on the final day. He's helped win the corner kick here, which Kota Mizunuma is going to take for the tricolour. Very congested penalty area to aim into. Goes near post. It's back in by Nagato. Tanaka will let that go. Opportunity maybe for the long throw here, but Nagato's taking it quickly back down the line as they keep the intensity high. This is Watanabe. Not quite the precision on the pass though, it's just behind Mizunuma. The urgency certainly in evidence early on from F Marinos as they attempt to respond to that loss at Consa. Despite that defeat, still the chance to go top with a win today, even if it might only be for a couple of hours or so. The only unbeaten side in J1 through the first 4 games, newly promoted Albirex Niigata, somewhat surprisingly. Here's Anzai, no way through for him. Diego Patuca in midfield, Ueda forward. Fuji brings it under control neatly, takes on Nagato. Wasn't entirely convincingly dealt with, but it worked out rather well for Mizunuma to stride clear, looks to spot the counter-attack. That crossfield ball was on for Elbert. Tsunomoto just showing him in field. And Supera, Kida, that's Watanabe. And now Elbert. Showed a little bit too much of it to Tsunomoto. He's likely to be kept busy if the first 10 minutes are anything to go by today. The right back for Kashima Antlers actually came through the youth ranks with F Marinos before going to university. In his 4th season with the Antlers, during his professional career. He started every game in this division this season. They did ring the changes for their J.League Cup game. A 1-1 draw at Kashiwa Reysol. Nobody starting today actually began that game. Their approach was slightly different to Kevin Muscat's in that competition. They will continue with a trip to Albirex Niigata a week tomorrow. F Marinos go to Sagan Tosu in the J.League Cup. They want to go into the international break in this competition with a victory, both of these. Chance to make a statement in the early weeks of the season against one of their great rivals. Hayakawa forced his way into the Antlers team at the end of last year and has since kept his place as the first choice goalkeeper. Last 5 games of last year and now the first 5 of this year. Mizunuma is going to be dispossessed by Koki Anzai. Kida did well. Nishimura helps it on. This is Elbert. Still with Elbert. Mizunuma. Nagato made a really good run forward actually from fullback. Now has to hurry back again because that run hadn't been utilised and there is space instead for the Kashima counter-attack. Fuji will be a little disappointed that he couldn't deliver that directly into the penalty area. New signing for this season from Sanfrecce Hiroshima. He started every league game since his arrival. Goal scorer in this city at Yokohama FC. Came at Fuji pretty quickly, and he will get it back. Kashima taking their turn to enjoy a little period of possession. Koki Anzai again. Delivers dangerously. They're appealing for offside. It was Chinen's header. Kept out by Ishimori. Flag stayed down. It has to go down as a big chance for Kai Chinen, and a really good save from Ishimori. Was in the right place to make it. The header straight at him. Chinen again. Looking to add to those goals that he scored in each of the first 2 league games of the season. Hasn't scored in the last 2. This is Anzai. Partially cleared by Hitanaka. Good spell for Kashima Antlers. Emphasised by the fact that it was Anderson Lopez back there doing his defensive duties, but doing them effectively enough. 11-goal joint top scorer for them in J1 last season, but let's have another look at this. Anzai's ball in, looked like he may well have been offside. And had that beaten the goalkeeper, then VAR could well have intervened. Ultimately academic though. Nishimura was able to keep it out. Last season was the exception to the recent norm, where these two are concerned in terms of their head-to-head meetings. F Marinos doing the double en route to the title. They've lost the previous 5 league meetings between the clubs, 6 in all competitions, including the Emperor's Cup in September of 2019. 20 goals that F Marinos conceded in those 6 games, but they kept clean sheets in both meetings last year. 2-0 here in July, having won 3-0 in Kashima in April. Goes Fuji. Again, plenty to try and pick out. It came for the captain, and Shomadoi never had his angle set really as he took a swing at that. First start of the season for the skipper, his 13th season with the first team. Just gone past 300 appearances in this league. It was never convincing. Half-century of goals across those 300 previous appearances. Just the one for him last year, though. He did score a hat-trick against F Marinos in May of 2021, a 5-3 Kashima win, famously. Opportunity today because of the suspension of Kaishu Sano, the new signing. It started the first 4 games of the season. Sent off in the last of them in that goalless draw against Fukuoka. It's been a settled side otherwise under Daiki Iwamatsu so far this season. Will reach Anderson Lopez. He's quickly crowded out of it. Diego Patuca, the Brazilian, won it well. Former Santos player. His 3rd season now with Kashima. The move after featuring in the Copa Libertadores final for his former club. There's Anzai. Suzuki, fast feet. Chinen was trying to turn. It was a little panicky at times from F Marinos, but they're able to come away with it. No more than a half-hearted appeal in the referee's direction from the visitors. They have to try and hurry back into shape defensively now. This is Elbert for the Tricolor, taking on Tsunomoto. Nishimura. Mizunuma, who was looking for Anderson Lopez in the middle. He is the obvious target in those sort of situations. The home side quickly there, turning defence into attack. And they will have a corner to come. Looking to take it pretty quickly and short. Mizunuma there, he's not been able to. The referee wasn't happy. His conversations are continuing in the penalty area. Primarily it will appear with Diego Pituca. So Mizunuma will try again here. Plans clear initially. Won't get another go yet, Mizunuma. Did whip it in with intent. Always been somebody in the dark red in the way so far. Kida will go all the way back to Ishimori in goal. Well, they're unbeaten in their last 4 home games in all competitions. F Marinos winning 3 of them. Scoring 7 goals across the last 3 at home in the league, having failed to score uncharacteristically in any of the previous 3. Still searching for the breakthrough today. Both teams have had early chances. This is Fuji for Kashima Antlers, 3 in the middle. Nagato halting his progress. Up against a former club today, Katsuya Nagato. It's his 2nd season with a tricolor after 2 years with Kashima Antlers. Returning from suspension in time to face them today. "44 starts, another 7 appearances off the bench and 1 goal in J1 across those 2 seasons that he had with today's opposition. Kida in field for Watanabe to assess his options. Tsunoda. Watanabe, who has previous with the Japanese national team himself. He went to the Copa America actually with them in 2019. It's a good ball in towards Anderson Lopez. He couldn't reach it. Albert Martin prodded it goalwards, and it's just deflected behind. That was close. He was alert to the opportunity. Was Albert? He's going to take the corner kick himself. 8 goals he got last season in the league. Looking to add to his opening day effort against Kawasaki Frontale. In fact, he's going to leave the corner. It will be Nagato to take it. As we head towards the midway point of this first half. In by Nagato. Tsunoda was his near-post target, didn't really get anything on it, still scrapping for it. There's the centre-back, having ventured forward, putting the pressure on Diego Pituca, who dealt with that pressure well. Had just gone out of play, though, that ball. Albert to Takuya Kida, who joined the youth ranks back in 2007 and has long since established himself as the club captain. Responsibility he admits that he takes very seriously wearing this shirt. He is a one-club man. Seeing plenty of it just at the moment. Here he is again, Kida, the number 8. Tanaka joining in from centre-back a little further forward. Oh, it's ambitious, it's audacious, not quite. Higuchi it was, trying to catch out Ishimori. After Watanabe had stayed down. It was a very deliberate attempt, wasn't it, from Yuta Higuchi. Still some concern for Kota Watanabe, hence the little stoppage here, and Ishimori breathing a sigh of relief. But ultimately he wasn't beaten from an effort inside the other half of the field. Had the height on it, but not quite the accuracy. And that's how Watanabe was hurt. The challenge with Shomadoi. It saw the ball break for Higuchi to have a go, improbably, ambitiously. Looks like Watanabe's going to be okay. It's one to keep an eye on. And ever-present starter under Kevin Muscat so far. The title-winning coach, last season's J-League Manager of the Year, signing a new contract to stay for this season. Placed Ange Postecoglou in the job, as he did previously in Melbourne in the A-League, and his most successful job to date as a manager. It was Melbourne Victory's inaugural captain, actually, back in 2005, Kevin Muscat, the end of his playing career. His team on the front foot again here. Now, what's the referee given? It's just outside the area, I think. It was awkward for Tomoya Fuji. Nagato well advanced. That was close to being inside the area. The ball was clearly outside. Almost right on the line. The referee was well positioned. Didn't take too long for VAR to check it, to back up the on-field decision. Confirmation of the outcome of that check. So no penalty. In fact, he still looks like he is waiting, referee Tanamoto, for official confirmation. There we go. It did look a close call initially, but it is a free kick. Still a promising position, this, for F Marinos. Mizunuma's going to take it. Nagato still involved in the conversation as well, but it will be left for Koto Mizunuma to try and flash it in, and again! And Hayakawa has it and holds on to it. Difficult, really, to catch out the keeper in that particular position. You can see the effect there that this rain has been having on the surface. It hasn't really relented at any stage. Still been coming down pretty heavily since kickoff, not quite as heavily as earlier in the day, maybe. Again, we see evidence of the distance that Hayakawa is capable of getting on those clearances. Higuchi on the end of it when it fell favourably for him, and now Fuji. It's deflected behind for the corner. Very little between them so far. Both looking a threat without being able to find the finish. Taking it in turns, really, to have little spells in the ascendancy. Yuta Higuchi will take the corner kick. Second season since his signing from Sagan Tosu. Looking for Doi, who was trying to help that on. Not quite as intended, but they will get another go. Take two for Higuchi. MEIJI Ueda up from centre back is one of the targets, and he was closest to meeting it. Ishimura did well. That's about all he could do with it. Back in didn't quite come for Chinen. And that's unlucky. Higuchi just unable to control it. Unlucky, but also potentially costly. Anderson Lopez, deft little touch from him. Put on by Nishimura, who will get it back again. Anderson Lopez will get it back again as well. He's on the end of this, but quickly closed down by Shoji. Helped out by Elbert as the Brazilians back each other up. Nagato. And forced back to halfway. And Tsunoda to maintain possession, combining with Tanaka, his fellow centre-back. They've given it away this time, though, to Shomadoi. Anzai, well advanced. And he was clearly caught by Takuma Nishimura. It's a yellow card. No complaint about the caution, and a free kick to follow. He was also a goal scorer on opening day, Nishimura, as he was in the Super Cup. He was back trying to help out his defence here, but has potentially left them with an issue. And those called up by Japan, looking to add to the 3 caps that he won back in the summer. Kashima fans behind that far goal, making plenty of noise, as they have been all afternoon. They'll side with a presentable opportunity at the other end here. Higuchi and Diego Pituca are the two standing over it. Again, Ueda is in there. It's going to be Higuchi to take, and the goalkeeper wasn't required. Looked awkward for Ishimori for a moment. Certainly worth trying to test out the goalkeeper in these conditions, but he knew it was going wide. He will certainly feel under Iwamasa that set pieces are a big part of the plan today. A couple of possibilities to test that out, but they haven't been able to capitalise upon yet. Suzuki needs a little bit of support. Albert is able to intervene instead, works it well, and then has it taken off his toes by Higuchi. Chinen. Looks like he's been given something of a license to roam today. Seen him all over the field already. So well advanced again forward from fullback, which has been a familiar pattern. The arm was raised and the free kick is given against him. Just caught Mizunuma. He was in the J1 Best 11 last season. Key figure in helping this team take the title. They had 5 representatives in that side, but only really Mizunuma and Elbert have featured regularly this season. Iwata and Takayoko both since departing, and the other member, Ryuta Koike, hasn't played yet this season because of injury. Let's put into context a little bit the stop-start nature of their season. Koike expected to return shortly from a dislocated kneecap. Here's Mizunuma. Saw the chance to win it back, Just left his leg in and caught Diego Patuca. Big notable departure from last season, that of Tomoki Iwata, who went to Celtic on loan. That will become permanent. They really have missed him, as they were always likely to in the opening weeks of this season. Well, a little bit of pressure maybe on Iwamasa coming into this season, certainly amongst the Kashima Antlers fan base, who are underwhelmed, I think it's safe to say, by his time in charge in the second half of last season. And they did still finish top four for a second successive year. But the fans felt that progress really hadn't been made since his appointment in the summer. To replace Renny Weiler, the Swiss coach, who he previously served as assistant. Had less than 6 months in the job, actually, did Weiler. Well, Massa was in his first season as the assistant coach. He'd been brought in as part of the backroom team last year, actually had a few games in charge of the team, whilst Weiler awaited entry to the country as part of the COVID quarantine restrictions that were in operation at the time. Previous managerial role was with the Jubu University's team in 2021, so it has been something of a big step up to J1 for Iwamasa. He spent most of his playing career with the Antlers. Best part of 300 league games for the club between 2004 and 2013. He will be expected to oversee an upturn in fortunes this year. Team are chasing here, pressing without the ball. And some reward courtesy of the flag. Gucci. A little fortunate that it fell back at his feet. This is Fuji. Moto was making ground in support. He's gone infield to his captain Doi instead. He's now with Tsunomoto, back to Doi. It's nice to combine. That's offside. They started last season strongly, actually, Kashima Antlers. Only lost one of their first 7 league games. They only won one of the last 9, though, last year. And it was that disappointing end to the campaign, really. That maybe affected the mood amongst the supporters going into this one. Anderson Lopez found himself a little outnumbered. Challenge was on Chinen. There's a new signing for this season, arriving from Kawasaki Frontale, where he had 6 years. 2-time title winner with them. Certainly slotted straight into this Kashima side this season. He actually won 6 of those first 7 league games last season, 9 of the first 13. Kashima Antlers, they were looking every bit title challengers at that stage, only to fall away. Marinos did take a little while to get going last year. Once they hit the front, they never looked back. Suzuki was the target for Kashima. Goalkeeper had to take evasive action, and still may be the danger. Higuchi have prioritised possession on this occasion. Back into their own half and now all the way back to Hayakawa. Straight out of play from Shoji. Had to wait until last week for his first start of the season, the former Gamba Osaka player. So his second spell back at the club where he started his career. 20 times by Japan in between. Subara with the throw. Not quite as involved as he was early on in the game. Suzuki did well to reach it initially. Tanaka with a foot in, Anderson Lopez was just behind Nagato. Subara, we see further evidence of the way that the fullbacks like to come in field, get involved in more central positions. It's a familiar part of the style, as it is really many of the City Football Group clubs. Certainly seen it with Manchester City fairly frequently. Marinos like to play in a similar style. They've not always been able to implement it today. They've had it all their own way. This is a little more promising period of possession for them. Also comfortable on the ball. Nishimura trying to force a way through as we head into the final 5 of the first half, and he is frustrated that there wasn't rather more for him and his side at the end of that. Frustration shared by Kevin Muscat on the touchline. Done a really good job in charge so far. Having taken over in the summer of 2021. Lasted just 6 months in his previous post in Belgium with Sint-Truidense. That didn't work out quite so well. The great success that he had with Melbourne Victory. Two-time A-League championship winner. I've seen some positives from this first half performance to potentially build on, to provide a platform from which to go on and win the game. There's going to be pulled back here by the offside flag again, up on the near side. He's operated really on the periphery of the game thus far as Elbert, but certainly has the ability to make a difference in a match as tight as this one has been so far. Previously spent his entire career in Brazil before moving from Bahia on a free 3 seasons ago now. Another who made the best 11 in this league last year. As his suitors elsewhere, certainly, but under contract for this year and next. Complaints here from Yuma Suzuki, who never really got off the ground as Sonoda rose highest. Maybe used Suzuki to do so. That's certainly the point that the centre forward was making in the referee's direction. Good battle that between those two. This is Hitanaka. They're sort of quite been precise enough in the final third yet. Anzai. Gucci was the furthest forward on that occasion. Couldn't reach it. Ishimori clears. Subara. He's given it away to Shomadoi. Suzuki. Real similarities between the sides so far, which shouldn't be a surprise, I guess, given that they come into this with almost identical records. Kashima Antlers ahead of F Marinos in the table only on goal difference. Been impressive away from home so far this season, which they're attempting to continue here. They're the only side actually to have won 2 from 2 on their travels coming into this weekend. Top away scorers in J1 with 5 goals, having conceded just the once on their travels so far. Defensively again today, they have remained solid. Tanaka. Time to assess his options on the ball. It's cut out by Shoji. Now has to try and hurry back into position again. Free kick's been given here in favour of F Marinos and in favour of their captain Kida, who was the one caught. Just waiting for the ball to come down and wasn't afforded that luxury as Koki Anzai came over the top of him, really. 2 added minutes at the end of the first half. We're into the first of those. It's a flurry of free kicks at the start of the game, and the half is potentially finishing in similar fashion. Nagato stands over it, so to Mizunuma. We've shared the responsibilities really so far. It's going to be left for Katsuya Nagato. And he's gone for goal. Turned over the top by Hayakawa as he tried to catch out the keeper. Nobody was expecting that, really. Would have taken something pretty special, though, to beat the goalkeeper from there. Hayakawa having none of it. Safety first in conceding the corner, which Mizunuma will take. Again, didn't beat the first man. Watanabe will get it back again. See what he was trying, looking to loft it long in towards the run of Mizunuma. It will break here for Watanabe, combining with the Nishimura. Now Elbert, and Tsunomoto stood his ground and did well, and he has done well for the majority of the matchup against Elbert, who is an ever-present threat. He's back on the ball, it's the Brazilian here. 2 added minutes at the end of the half have been played. And there is nothing between the teams, nothing between them in the table, nothing between them in the first 45 today. Both started strongly and had early opportunities that they weren't able to capitalise on. Each have had little spells in the ascendancy in the game without quite being able to make it count in the difficult conditions in Yokohama today. And both will certainly still feel that this game is there for the winning in the second half. But they can't be split at Nissan Stadium so far in what has been a fiercely fought affair to get match week 5 of the season underway. Half-time, Yokohama F Marinos 0, Kashima Antlers 0.
playing card.
So almost set for the start of the second half at Nissan Stadium. Yokohama F Marinos and Kashima Antlers still locked together at 0-0 as they are level on points in the table through the first 4 games of this season. And it still remains really as difficult as ever to split them on the evidence of the first 45 minutes this afternoon. Flurry of early openings for both teams wasn't really backed up. And clear-cut opportunities after that were at a premium in that first half. But both teams will still certainly fancy their chances here of turning 1 point into 3 and temporarily perhaps going top of the table, which is the prize on offer for the pair of them. The rain still coming down pretty heavily, as it has all day. Equally unrelenting has been the noise inside Nissan Stadium throughout the course of the contest. A sizable travelling contingent from Kashima, making plenty of that noise themselves. Their side about to get us underway again. So it is the record champions Kashima Antlers that get the second half started. The reigning champions Yokohama F Marinos giving as good as they've been getting, but will have been a little disappointed maybe not to assert more authority as the home side in that first half. Taking on the team that finished 4th in each of the last 2 years. Immediately on the front foot here at the Antlers, but it didn't quite come for Yuma Suzuki. No changes made by either side at half-time. Plenty of options in reserve for each for later. Of Kashima Antlers league titles coming in 2016, the year that they became the first Asian club to reach the FIFA Club World Cup final. They have a total of 19 domestic trophies in the professional era. That is more than any other Japanese side. Not been out of the top 5 since their last title win in 2016. The lowest finished 11th in 2012. A little bit of space here for Kida. Super up was wider, back to the captain, and now at Nishimura, Anderson Lopez, those two combine. Albert with a shot, and scrambled away just in time on the line in the end. Shoji it was who dealt with it just. Albert taking the shot actually away from Nishimura. There's Watanabe as they look to keep the pressure on the tricolor. Nagato to Albert. Everybody back for Kashima Antlers right now. Sail harmlessly through to Hayakawa in goal, who was grateful for the presence of Shoji a moment ago. And that intervention on the line. Let's have another look at it. Albert's effort was goal-bound, I think. Looked like it was going to bend in at that far post. Only for Shoji to get there first, to stop it and then to clear it. He was a member of that title-winning team in 2016 in his first spell at the club. Again, Shoji. It's only the second appearance of the season for him, his first season back at the club since re-signing from Gamba Osaka. Both the centre-backs in second stints in Kashima after successful first periods with the club. There's Fuji trying to squeeze in the cross from the byline. Will come instead for Diego Pituca. Fuji again. And that was overhit by Tsunomoto. Tanaka finding Matsubara. Anderson Lopez was on the move, didn't quite get that far. Diego Pituca away. Higuchi getting his head on it. Here's Suzuki. Bit of space for Tsunomoto, able to bring it down. Suzuki trying to reach it, having made the run in behind. Always stretching though, up against Tanaka, and he couldn't quite capitalise. Tsunomoto well advanced. Those two very nearly able to combine. Suzuki does look the major threat, has to be expected in attack. 5 years he had in his first spell with Kashima Antlers. Part of that double winning team in 2016, the Asian Champions League winning team in 2018 as well. The year when he scored a career best 11 league goals for this club. He first joined as a 7-year-old in 2003. Part that he played in winning the Champions League, earned him a nomination for Asian Footballer of the Year that season. He was called up actually by Japan at the end of the year, but missed out on what would have been a first cap with an ankle injury suffered in the Champions League. Here is Fuji, taking up some promising positions, unable to pick out anybody in the middle. Has given them an extra option in attack this season though, hasn't he? Since his arrival from Senfrecce Hiroshima. It's on a 3-year contract. Diego Pituca. Visitors seeing a bit more of the ball in F Marinos territory at the moment. Supera will go long with the clearance. Anderson Lopez, always second favourite really against Ueda. That'll be a free kick. Referee had an unimpeded view. Comes down in favour of Kaichinen. He's the one on the ball right now. And again. Anzai. And then Tsunomoto in space. Able to bring it down. Looks for Suzuki. Still Suzuki. Clearance wasn't convincing. Out only as far as Tsunomoto. And still, he opted against the shot. Tried to tee up Higuchi instead. And it was never troubling the target. Better from Iwamasa's side. Those that have made the trip southwest from Kashima. Situated behind that goal. Have a bit more belief, maybe, that the goal might be coming. Probably as good a spell for any sustained period as they've had in the game so far. That might all change here, though. Zunuma couldn't quite get on the end of it. And Hayakawa is able to clear. Supera who was down, hence the free kick. Becoming more of a factor, I think, Yuma Suzuki up front in the second half. was agonising for him. He was a little off balance, always stretching. To an extent slipping as well, as he attempted to meet that, having made the run. Won back well by Doi. Suzuki, shoulder to shoulder with Albert. You can't quite believe that he's been penalised. It's as heated as it's been. Certainly felt unfortunate, Albert here. But looking at that, I don't think he can have too many arguments. Suzuki certainly in the thick of the action. Into a threatening area, but it's just glanced off for Tanaka and comes for Ishimori. Big gloves to fill this season after the departure of last year's #1. Yohei Takaoka joining Vancouver in MLS after a really impressive title-winning campaign. Shimura already the second this season to get his opportunity to wear those gloves. Now this might come for the shot. Oh, brilliant! What a strike! Ken Matsubara caught hold of that brilliantly as he strode onto the loose ball with a little danger and found a fabulous thumping finish. Some way to open his account for the campaign. Some way to open the scoring this afternoon. A goal that might just take Marinos back to the top of the table. It kept low, hit with unerring accuracy. Across the keeper and into the corner. That is some strike, both in terms of its execution and indeed its significance. Well, he scored in a friendly against Roma in Tokyo late last year in November, Ken Matsubara. It's his first J1 goal since May of last year against Kyoto Sanga, his only goal of last season. They don't tend to be too frequent, but that one was certainly memorable. An unlikely name on the score sheet to separate the sides so far. And the right-back's 7th season with the club. Back into the team today, making the difference. The 7th goal of his career in this division. For all the patient passages of play, the deliberate little build-ups that we've seen from F Marinos, that was just a ball played into space for the fullback to run onto and strike home in style, and it separates the sides. And now we're going to see the first changes of the game. Both teams, it would appear, making those changes. Inoue on for Mizunuma for F Marinos. That's a reversal of one of the 3 changes that was made to the starting lineup from last week. And Matsumura is on for Kashima as well. They've made their first substitution off the bench for the 4th time in 5 at the start of the season. He was a goal scorer actually in the J.League Cup win, or the draw I should say, against Kashima Reso just a couple of games ago. The substitute, Matsumura on for Fuji as part of a double change. Araki on for Shomadoi as well, as Kashima Antlers try and respond. decisive from Iwamasa in the aftermath of the concession. There is the second of the substitutes, Araki, just his second appearance of the league season. Also came on against Frontale earlier in the campaign, their second game. Japanese under-23 international. They have the corner kick here as they set about going in pursuit of parity, taken by Higuchi. Chase on for Diego Patuca to try and return it, out by Hatanaka. Now maybe the counter-attack, Elbert in space. And if his touch was sure, he would have been in on goal, but it wasn't quite effective enough. Credit there to Matsumura, whose first involvement since coming on was to stop what would otherwise perhaps have been the second Marinos goal. There's Kida. It was also a heavy touch. It very nearly broke back to him, and indeed to Anderson Lopez, nearly but not quite. Just about building with that, only just, despite not being under too much pressure. How will Kashima Antlers deal with falling behind? Half an hour to try and salvage this. They do usually find their goal away from home. They've scored in their last 8 away league matches. The last team to stop them, Yokohama F Marinos, in a 2-0 defeat here at the end of July last year. Kashima has scored in every away game since then. Tanabe was strong. Comes for Nishimura, working it wider. Towards Nagato. Cleared only as far as Hatanaka. Tanabe. Inoue. Kida's cross is deflected in for the own goal. Oh, it's an awful moment for Tsunamoto. And Yokohama F Marinos have doubled their lead. They may well be heading back to the top of the table, at least temporarily. Kevin Muscat's men all of a sudden are completely in command of a match that had been right in the balance. Not one that he will want to see again. Did he not get the shout from the goalkeeper? He just steered it into the corner of his own net. And he did have time, really, to do much more with that. It wasn't as if it came at him quickly and he couldn't get out of the way. It was a deliberate attempt to clear, which went horribly wrong for Keigo Tsunamoto. And is that a blow from which they will be unable to recover? It's certainly a huge task for Kashima Antlers from here. And that one a self-inflicted wound, really. 2-0 to Marinos is how it finished in this fixture last season. Iwamasa's team had actually started the second half of this one on the front foot, but now they have it all to do. First job is just to try and recover their composure after the disappointment of conceding twice in quick succession, but also particularly the nature of the second goal, the own goal. Is on Hatanaka, but F Marinos have it. Inoue flags up. Now they have it under their control. Now they are in the position that he wanted them to be in. Beaten 2-0 last week at Concert. This has been the sort of response that Muscat would have hoped to see from his side. A couple more changes for Kashima Antlers now. We're going to see the Brazilian brought on after Kaika. Higuchi coming off. And Nakamura will be introduced into the action as well. Kai Chinen is the other player to make way. All changed then. They may well wonder just how they found themselves 2 down. In a game where they have been the champions equal for much of the match. It's Kashima Antlers heading seemingly for a second defeat of the season, unless they can find something, heading towards now the closing quarter of the contest. Suzuki, who's taken over the captain's armband when Doi went off, can't force their way through. Supera, it's a lovely ball, but the goalkeeper had read the danger. Hayakawa out quickly. One back at this stage for Kashima though, and it's certainly game on again. Ueda. Araki. Rode the initial challenge well. They've got 3 in the penalty area here. Suzuki is the target as it's hoisted high in his direction. Did want to get something on it. Signs that they have collectively cleared their heads, Kashima, after the disappointment of the concession of those 2 goals. They're looking more of a threat again. Matsumura. Tanabe is going to be able to try and pick the pass. Anderson Lopez was his preferred target, unable to reach it. Shoji from centre-back stepping forward into F Marinos territory. Only then to give the ball away. Kenta Inoue. Nishimura on the move through the middle for him. Inoue just held up. Another of the new signings for this season from Oita Trinita, who had started the last 2 games. In preference to Mizunuma, they've rotated that role really in the opening weeks of the season. Down goes Watanabe, no free kick. And here come the Antlers with Matsumura. He's able to pick out the cross for Suzuki to score. And it might just be game on again. Kashima Antlers respond in style, showing real resilience after the disappointment of the 2 goals let in their second half. They are right back in it thanks to a goal from Suzuki, a second of the season for the centre forward, made by Matsumura, who did really well. And it was a tap-in really in the end, thanks to the movement of the stand-in skipper, who got to it just ahead of Matsumura. 7 goals last season on his return to the club, the former double winner. And now a second of this season, which might be significant because it has afforded them a potential route back into the game at the midway point of this second half. And now tempers boiling over, and it is the goal scorer Suzuki right at the heart of it before everybody else gets involved. And it's left to referee Tanemoto to try and calm things down. Well, the game really has come to life now in the second half. Suzuki, a central figure in the story, in every sense. That's the initial foul. And then Suzuki got involved with Kota Watanabe, which is what seemingly sparked the free-for-all that followed. Well, both of his goals this season coming in at Yokohama. Also scoring in the 3-1 win at Yokohama FC just a couple of weeks ago, which was his first since July. There's a yellow card for each of them. Suzuki and Watanabe both into the book in it. Well, it ends amicably enough for now anyway. Or does it? Just about. We'll be hoping to have a further say in the story yet, though. Suzuki, having got his goal, and renewed hope for Kashima. The run of scoring away from home does continue. But they do need more. The last 3 away league games going back to last season, unbeaten in the last 6 since a setback at Kawasaki Frontale, the end of August. We've got 20 minutes plus added time to try and extend that sequence here. And now the referee wanting a word with Daiki Iwamasa, who will have been pleased at the heart shown by his side to respond from going 2 behind. Conceded twice in the space of 6 minutes, but a further 6 minutes later scored a goal of their own. Just to put this back in the balance. 2 more changes from F Marinos here. Jan Mateus and Takumi Kamijima are coming on. Looks like Albert's making way. That'll be a like-for-like switch, one Brazilian for another. And Matsubara, scorer of the game's opening goal in stunning style, will be replaced by Kamijima. No more that he can do to ensure that he finishes on the winning side, but he's certainly played his part in helping them down that path with that brilliant goal. That is also a reversal of one of the 3 changes to the starting lineup from the defeat at Comsa last week. Kamijima made his first league start for the club in that game, and is on for the conclusion here. There's the free kick then. Just a bit too much on it, and it will run away from Arta Kaika and out of play. The substitutes attempted to combine. More awkward for F Marinos now. Do they stick or twist in these closing stages? They're under a little bit more pressure. Where's this going to fall? Sonoda was certainly under pressure in his own penalty area. Now Suzuki, usually the one in the middle, this time was the one trying to provide the service. Here he is again, Yuma Suzuki. Took a while to come to the boil this game, but it's a very watchable affair right now. Kawa again with the clearance. Ueda. Anderson Lopez. Time to assess his options. Hasn't really had his almost customary chance in front of goal yet today. The Brazilian Anderson Lopez for F Marinos. Would be a surprise if that continues. It's not been straightforward really at any stage of the season for Kevin Muscat, so he probably won't be overly surprised that this is back in the balance again. They've tended to have to do things the hard way so far. It's maybe a more accurate reflection of the way the game has gone in its entirety. Gifted really, of course, that second goal with the own goal. Heading for the final 15 minutes of the 90. F Marinos with the corner kick. Just over the head of Hatanaka, who'd come up from the back to try and meet it. They attempt to re-establish their two-goal cushion. Jan Mateus, second season since his signing last summer. The former Palmeiras player. Scored off the bench against Aurora Reds here on match day 2. They try and hurry back defensively now. Suzuki takes over for Kashima. Looks to bend that one in. Oh, nearly. It was a valiant attempt to get there round the back as Yuma Suzuki played it towards the run of Koki Anzai. Small margins at the moment. Stretching Anzai, couldn't quite wrap his boot around it. Ueda, first season back in J-League. He had 6 years with the club at the start of his career. He was also a double winner in 2016. He'd left just before the Asian Champions League success of 2018. He had 3 years with the Cercle Brugge in Belgium, 2.5 seasons in France with Nîmes before his return. Bringing real experience to the side for this season as they try and mount a title challenge. How they respond to situations such as this will tell us much about their mentality and their potential prospects this year. Suzuki certainly is rising to the challenge. Tsunomoto, there'll be nobody more relieved in red if Kashima are able to salvage this after his own goal. Of concentration, really, a misjudgment more than anything from Tsunomoto, and it may still prove so costly. It's currently the difference between the teams. But Kashima Antlers have certainly not given this up, far from it. It was so important that they responded swiftly, and having managed that, they now sense a second. Flick on was by Araki. In towards Suzuki, he just couldn't quite get there. Frustration this time, but there is still time for Kashima Antlers. This storied side, the most successful side in Japanese football history. Coached in the early years of J-League by Zico, who previously played for them at the start of the J-League era. He's still involved, actually. The former technical director until a couple of years ago has an advisory position these days. A legendary Brazilian, and he's chiefly responsible, really, for the considerable links that they have with Brazil down the years. 10 different Brazilian coaches in their J-League history as well. Free kick is in a promising position. Not been able to make these count yet today. That has to change pretty soon. Ryotori Araki is going to take it. I mentioned that only previous league appearance of this season as a sub against Frontale was sent off in that game. It's the first time we've seen him since in J1. Much will depend on the quality of his delivery. Araki, it's not a bad one, but it was well defended, and it was Watanabe, importantly, that just got his foot to that first to clear it away. That's the questions, though, Araki, as Iwamasa's team are doing collectively right now. Still sensing there's something in the game for them. Anderson Lopez couldn't make it stick. Back by Shinosuke Hatanaka. Will be a free kick. No game management really for Marinos from here. Need to prevent their opponents generating any further momentum. There's Nagato. Certainly capable of enjoying a prolonged period of possession, which is exactly what would be required really in pursuit of that aim. Sonoda. Fine season he's been having so far. Breakthrough year last year, reflected by that international call-up. As Watanabe goes back to Ishimori. And this is what they needed really, this little spell. Anderson Lopez bumps it on to Kenta Inoue and back again. Kida. Jan Mateus. Just fading away from Anderson Lopez. Foul is on Diego Patuca. Not for the first time this afternoon. Watanabe now on a booking after that coming together with Suzuki, has to be a little more careful. Suzuki able to stride into space, deriding a couple of challenges. He's joining in frequently with the attack, Koke Anzai down that left-hand side. His shot charged down this time. Tsunomoto. No way forward for him, now has to hurry back. Anderson Lopez. Priority is possession for the tricolor. Both physios may be potentially required here. Coming together between Nagato and Suzuki. Didn't look like a lot in it, maybe just a follow through. Both are pretty swiftly back on their feet. Nagato hoping his current club can hold on against his former club. Little touch from Jan Mateus. Nishimura. And towards Anderson Lopez. He always offers them that option. And again, he's the target here as it's floated forward in his direction. Was able to win it. Ueda can clear it. It's going to be pulled back with the flag up for the Kashima Antlers free kick. Just starting to run out of time though, the visitors. And the changes keep coming. Another Brazilian coming on. Marcus Jr. will take the place of Nishimura for these final few minutes of the match. And that maintains Marcus Jr.'s record of coming off the bench in every league game so far this season. He was actually the 15-goal top scorer when they took the title in 2019. Marcus Jr. now in his 5th year at the club since signing from Fluminense back home in Brazil. Looking for Matsumura. Tsunomoto, no foul in there. Diego Patuca, it's a strong search. Took 3 with him. He wasn't able to find anything at the end of it. Press very high here though. Sonoda will probably settle for that. Back in action at Cerezo Osaka. 2 weeks today, the next J1 game after that J.League Cup affair at Sagantosu for F Marinos. We'll hope that they go into that on the back of a win here. Kashima Antlers' next league match at home to Sanfrecce Hiroshima. They've got some more defending to do here. A 3rd goal at this stage for F Marinos might settle it. Marcus Jr. involved straight away. Kawa was able to go and gather it though. He's no longer a regular starter, but still an important member of this squad, an experienced member of this squad. 2-time title winner with the team. The next change sees the introduction of Itsuki Someno in attack. And it's a defender sacrificed. Tsunomoto making way. Scorer of that potentially costly own goal. Another forward though thrown into the fray as they have to go chasing the game. 2nd appearance off the bench of his 4th season at the club. He actually ended the last one out on loan at Tokyo Verdy. Also came on in Yokohama against Yokohama FC earlier in the season. 12 appearances last year off the bench for the Antlers before making that loan move. Doesn't have too long to make a difference today, but he will make a difference to the way that they line up for these last few minutes. Suzuki dropping deeper to pick up possession, and now they stream forward. Plenty to try and pick out. Didn't quite come initially for Diego Patuca just as he was winding up for the spectacular. Marcos Jr.'s made it his. Ueda reaches it ahead of Anderson Lopez. Going to go against Suzuki as well as he rose with Sonoda. He won't be able to protest it. Suzuki's already on a yellow card. Sonoda that was first to the ball. Before he was clattered into by Suzuki, he just couldn't put the brakes on in time, really. Kashima running out of time. The Antlers. The city name, actually, Kashima, literally means Deer Island. Hence where they got the Antlers from, as they were reformed under that name for the start of the J-League era, one of 10 founding members of this division, along with their opponents today. Just a minute of the 90 remaining, plus added time. Inoue was on the move and was clearly caught by Anzai, yellow card out. Kenta Inoue has stayed down after that. There was plenty of space in behind, and the foot was very high. In fact, it made contact, I think, with the forehead of Kenta Inoue. Certainly with the face. We opted to show yellow, not red. VAR just checking that. It was very high. Koki Anzai, another who's in a second spell with Kashima Antlers. So many players who move on and tend to come back again. He went to Portugal with Portimonense. Kept 5 times by Japan since 2019. The 3rd season now of his second spell. It appears that he's going to be okay to stay on after the check. So we go into 6 added minutes now at the end of the 90. No surprise really to see that number go up. So the check is over. It remains as a yellow rather than the red. But the free kick to follow. Committed too many forward, perhaps understandably, for the free kick at this stage. Played out as far only as Inoue. It's deflected onto the roof of the net. Awkward for a moment for Hayakawa, certainly. And now Suzuki's down, and it's a further stoppage in stoppage time. It's a double deflection, actually, on the way over. First Patuka, and then Genshoji, and then over. Marinos don't need to be in any hurry here. Those 2 goals that they scored in the space of 6 second-half minutes, having them on course to move back to the top of the table. As it stands, these 2 teams, the first 2 teams in action today. So Kobe and Nagoya Grampus, the top 2 in the table going into Matchweek 5. But at no stage today have those travelling fans lost heart, as we get confirmation of that earlier caution for Koki Anzai. Here's the corner. Marcus Junior to take. Comprehensively cleared initially. As far as Watanabe. They don't need to force the issue now, F Marinos. They are almost there. And it would be a much-needed return to winning ways for the first time in 3 games, after being held by Sanfrecce Hiroshima and losing at Consa. Have been involved in plenty of late drama themselves this season, notably when they suffered their only previous defeat at home to Kawasaki Frontale. The second week of this season, that was the game that they led going into the 89th minute and ended up losing it to a penalty scored 11 minutes into stoppage time. So there is time yet for another twist today. Sumare trying to get on the end of this, was able to ride the challenge and deliver the cross. I'm surprised to see virtually everybody back in blue now. The attempting to deal with that. Little option but to launch it long. Semedo was challenging for it. Feels he should have had the corner, so does his coach. First time that we've really seen him involved in the game since his introduction a few minutes ago. I think the final touch was his, looking at that. Anderson Lopez into space. Jan Matthäus will reach it. They've done a very decent job at seeing this through so far, F Marinos. Because their lead did look under real threat. Once Suzuki scored, Kashima Antlers had the momentum at that stage. They had their belief back. They've not really threatened again significantly since. And for that, the home team have to take real credit. A bit of an issue down on the touchline, I think. It's being ordered back inside the technical area. Ayakawa. A huge clearance, seen plenty of those today. Certainly required at the moment. Jan Matthäus. Diego Patuca knows that the game is almost up. Almost, but not quite yet. We are in the last of the 6 minutes that were initially added on. There is a yellow card for the reaction there, I think, as much as anything, from Diego Patuca. So it's thumped forward again, met by Hatanaka this time. Anzai trying to pick up the pieces. It's a good cross, and it was a little panicky for a moment for F Marinos at the back. It's going to be a corner, I think, and one last chance to try and salvage something. Iwamassa's team will have one final go at getting a point from the game. Ryotaro Araki to take the corner kick. They have to make this one count. Surely it is now or never. And this really would be some story. Right at the end, in the driving rain. Trying to turn it around from two behind. The goalkeeper came, didn't get there, didn't necessarily need to get there though. As F Marinos clear it. There might not be time for it to come back. That surely will be the case now, because it's a free kick. F Marinos, it's Kida who has caught. They were looking for Jan Matthäus. That's a red card right at the end. And that's 2 yellows, I think, in a matter of moments for Diego Patuca. And that's why the shoulder charge, having just gone into the but-for descent a moment earlier, and he can barely believe it. Well, there is a late twist, but it's an unsavoury one for Kashima Antlers. The Brazilian is dismissed. 2 yellows, both in added time. And a red right at the end. There will barely be time to get the game back underway again once he's made his way from the field. And a suspension to follow for an ever-present starter. And further costly addition to what's at times been an unsavoury story for Kashima Antlers, who for much of the match have been Marinos' equals. It does appear as if that own goal, though, is going to cost them from Tsunomoto. That's effectively the difference right now. On we go only at the referee's discretion. With some self-inflicted wounds, certainly, for Kashima Antlers today. Anderson Lopez just trying to hold it up. Second straight game that's seen a sending off after the dismissal last week of Sano. That's the full-time whistle. Return to winning ways for the champions. Hard-earned today for Yokohama F Marinos. 2 goals scored in the space of 6 second-half minutes, proving enough for the victory. despite Suzuki responding just 6 minutes later. A wonderful first from Matsubara, and then an awful own goal from Tsunomoto, adding to Yokohama F Marinos' advantage, which ultimately proved enough despite Suzuki scoring swiftly and renewing hope for Kashima Antlers. It is F Marinos that move, maybe only temporarily, back to the top of the table. They move back to winning ways, importantly, against one of their historical rivals. And further pressure on Daiki Iwamasa, whose side have come up just short and ended with 10 after the 2 added time yellow cards for Diego Pituca. It has finished Yokohama F Marinos 2, Kashima Antlers 1. Quite an eventful contest, wasn't it? Certainly in the second half. It was tight before the break. There was never really much in it at any stage of the game. It took a super strike from Ken Matsubara, a rare goal from the right back to separate the sides. And F Marinos went on to score the second shortly afterwards, although it was scored for them really by Keigo Tsunomoto, with a lapse of concentration, a misjudgment in front of his own goal, and it proved so costly, despite the fact that Kashima Antlers did respond. And Yuma Suzuki, just taken over the captain's armband, was able to convert the cross from the substitute Yuta Matsumura to get them right back in the game. They harboured genuine hopes at that stage of taking something back northeast with them to Kashima, but not so. They're beaten here for a second successive season, having won their previous 2 visits. And it remains to be seen just how much of a setback this will prove to be in the context of the early weeks of the season. Their second defeat of the campaign for Kashima, both coming against last season's top 2. Awful conditions for most of the match, but the fans never stop singing. And the F Marinos supporters have the result that they wanted. Again, their team not necessarily always convincing. It's been the story of the start of their title defence. But unlike last week when they were beaten for the first time at Consa, they've got the job done. Reaction now to follow.
勝利おめでとうございます。ありがとうございます。スーパーゴールでした。はい、年に1回のシュートがここで出たので、はい、良かったです。走り込んだスペースに走り込んだあたり、サイドバックからあそこにいるんだというところ、見事でした。マリノスのサッカーをする上ではポジショニングは必然的なので、はい、しっかりいいポジション取れてよかったなと思います。そしてキックも絶妙だったと思いますが、どんな狙いだったんでしょうか。あれいつも欲出して思いっきり振りに行くと上に行っちゃうんで、今日はしたたかに当てることだけを意識して、ボール蹴り込みました。難しい試合だったと思いますけれども、ゴールが流れを一つ変えたと思いますけれども、この勝利どんな意味を持つと思われてますか。伝統あるオリジナル10の戦いの中で、試合前からバチバチするゲームになるとは、みんな予想して